Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox Podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. On Fridays, we talk about the product owner role in Scrum. We talk about patterns and anti-patterns that relate to ours and the team's collaboration with the product owner. And we've also put together a course to help you navigate that relationship. There's 18 modules, nearly 8 hours of tools, techniques, videos, handouts, presentations you can use to help you and your team work better with your product owner. The course is available at bit.ly/coach-your-PO. All lowercase, all one word. That's bit.ly/coach-your-PO. And now, on to the show, the Product Owner Show. Hello everybody, TGIF as they say. Today's Friday and we have with us this week Mher Nalbandyan. Hey Mher, welcome back.
Hello, thank you again for the invitation.
Absolutely. So Mher, product owner is the topic of today, and we'll talk about a great product owner later on. But first, let's dive into what might have been, in your perspective, the worst product owner anti-pattern you've witnessed in your career. Share that with us.
I would like to mention that I used to work with many POs having different backgrounds. Some of them, were new in the role. Others have many years experience as a PO. I can remember some worst examples of PO anti-patterns, let's say. But before going deeply in the story, which I would like to share, I would like to highlight the following. The product owner really plays a very important role in the success of agile implementation in an organization level. The entire effort of adapting and scaling agile across teams is bound to fail if the product owner responsibilities and roles are not understood clear in the organization level. Anti-patterns, let's say, are practices which unfortunately many product owners fail into. These patterns, let's say, are in a violation of the core principles of agile. And while each of them seems harmless on its own, in the long run, meaningful process will be, let's say, hindered. If you are a product owner and are seeking to improve yourself, this is my suggestion, you should have aware of what other POs have done wrong in order to avoid making this kind of mistakes, And this is the overview how I'm looking at who is the PO and the importance of the PO role in the organization. Back into the story, I would like to share the story. One of the PO with who I used to work, saying shortly, the PO was not always available, and it is often caused a lot of issues and to ineffective behaviors, and what kind of problems they are facing. Now you can ask me. The problems are following. If PO is not available, it has created a slow feedback loop, which caused a lot of, let's say, increasing of effectiveness, capability, and other issues. In prolonged cases, this put demotivated the team. This is a problem which I faced in one of my teams working with the PO. And the most important is that that PO was creating a good documentation, and for the team, and that did not yet guarantee that team could deliver what the PO had in mind, and the collaboration practice between PO and team were critical to enable the team to take on some of tasks that were expected from the PO, and only then could PO solve the very legitimate, let's say, other requests she was getting from the rest of organization.
So when we talk about this PO being absent, of course, we're as you said, like the team might be demotivated, the team has this slow feedback loop. But one thing that is interesting for me to discuss further is what are the reasons, like what are the motivations the POs have to be absent, right? Because no PO wakes up in the morning and say, I'm going to be the worst possible PO ever, right? They don't do that. It just, stuff starts happening, right? And as picking up on the tool that you've mentioned several times, we should have a one-on-one and try to understand, what's going on, right? So what did you learn at that time talking to the PO? What was causing that absence? Why was the PO not available?
Just, the problem which I understand is coming from that PO, by the way, she's a girl, and is coming from the that she was giving the priorities wrongly. As I mentioned,
give me an example.
In the organization level, for example, if there is a planning session, it is a time for starting the planning, and there is an organization level setup meeting, which is possible to skip. So, but she always going to that organization level meeting because it's very important for him. And what should we do a planning session? How we should do it? Who should answer the question
the team can't do it, right? Like we should say, hey, sorry, we can't. The sprint is delayed until the PO is available, right? So, and that's a good point because the team can't do the sprint planning without the PO, if nothing else, because the first part of the sprint planning is about defining the direction and the goal for the sprint. And that's purely a PO decision. Now, the team can have opinions and they can share, and even other stakeholders can be invited. But the PO's the role that has that decision power to define the sprint goal. So in situations like this, from your experience, what can we do as Scrum Masters to help these product owners?
So what can I suggest, and what I have done is to again, my love tool is one-on-one. I went to the private talk with him, with her, sorry, and then I said that you should, first of all. By the way, I forgot to mention that she used to participate, skip the meetings of Sprint Retro. I'm saying that this is a place where team, let's say, team was planning to give a feedback to you. You should start participating in that planning as well, And I have a separate talk with her. After that, I have a separate talk with the management, let's say, a responsible person or people, for saying that, first of all, we should reschedule our meetings, that they are not overlapping. So, and then we give priorities to the meetings. I explained that planning is very important, you should be there. I can say the problem is coming that she is not experienced in that role, only a few months that she was working in that role, and previously maybe not there were no any Scrum Master who can say, okay, yeah, the planning is very important, So, but I can say that fortunately we solved the problem, and now she became one of the strongest POs. So. Yeah.
Which is, of course, the topic of my next question. So before that, I also have a link on the show notes for people who want to check out like kind of a checklist that we can go through with the PO in that one-on-one, for example, about, okay, so here are the things we expect, what is possible, what's not possible, how do we adapt? Because, of course, it's not just one side, right? Like the team and the PO need to adapt in order to make the POs work more effective. Okay, but the link is there on the show notes for those of you that want to check it out. And next we talk about the opposite, what might have been, Mher, the best product owner you've ever worked with. So describe them for us.
Okay, I can remember one PO who were, let's say, shortly was writing the good user stories. What I mean saying this, it was the case when the user stories were written very well. Especially the user stories have all acceptance criteria and the description clear for the team members. Because I used to work in the teams where I was getting the feedbacks where people are mentioning that the description is unclear for me. Sometimes after the refinement meeting, I've forgot, about some stuff related to the story. And when I'm going to the description, I was thinking and I'm expecting that as a developer, I can find the whole information. I mean, the expected result and etc. So the good one was that the PO also had a technical background. And sometimes you can see that PO went very deeply in the user story. Also, we know that the PO is also opening the bugs. Not only the QS, PO is also opening the bugs. And in that case, PO also when he's testing, and finding a bug, and he was opening. He was also mentioning, because he had a technical background, he's also mentioning on which part developers should work to solve to fix the issue. And this is really interesting for me, because it was first time that I used to work with the PO having a technical background. And for me, it is very, very important that PO, it is again, is coming based on the project, but generally POs should have a technical background because when there are some cases when the developer are coming and asking the question. So if you don't have a technical background, sometimes how to say, you cannot find a solution. So this case is really unique for me, and I'm always sharing this PO's example. And now with the new joiner, let's say not the new joiner, juniors, the people who are new in the product owner, I always giving this example. I'm coaching, training them to become this kind of PO. And sometimes I also sharing the contacts of that PO that everyone, if you have any question, can reach out to.
And it's very important, like in especially in these cases, to have that conversation with the team and feel how they evaluate the relationship with the PO, right? Because of course, a PO with a lot of technical background might also go too far, right? And not let the team make their own decisions and force them to use whatever the technology the PO likes and not listen to the team's input and the team's experience. But so it's very important for us to hear the team, to make sure that, yes, indeed, this is helping the team, right? Like, as you said, answering the technical questions and so on that other POs would not be able to do.
Yeah, I'm totally agree. And I'm agree with your opinion, saying that maybe if you have a technical background as a PO, you can go more deeply and don't allow team make their own decision. But I can say that fortunately, in this case, that PO knew his limit, let's say, and yeah, we never faced this kind of problem. If faced, believe me, I will notice that, and at the current time, I will respond it. And
absolutely, and that's actually a very good point. The PO knowing their limit, right? Like where they should stop and let the team take over. That's a very important aspect. Mher, it's been a great week with you. A lot of stories, a lot of insights and tips and lessons learned, shared here. But we're getting close to the end. So please do share with us, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
So first of all, again, I would like to thank you very much for your invitation. It is I really appreciate it for become one of the Scrum Masters who interviewed here. So regarding where people can find me, I have a LinkedIn. You can find me on the LinkedIn, and also I have a Twitter. Just drop me a message if you have any questions. So we can share the knowledge. Also, I'm ready to help, coach, train, which is my lifestyle, let's say.
Absolutely. Great point. And yes, absolutely. I'll put the link on the show notes to Mher's Twitter and LinkedIn pages so that you guys can go out and ask questions, ask follow-up questions. Mher, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for being with us here this week and for being so generous with your time and your knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you too for the invitation again.
One more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over, but there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast hosts, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. Join us at scrummastertoolbox.com/podcast and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more week full of Scrum Master tips and tricks. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.